I think it's very possible we'll get that. It's far from a sure thing. Certainly the 4 that we got, we're not going to get a 4 handle in the next few quarters, I don't think. But we could get 3, and that would be absolutely terrific for the American people.
Why do you think we could get 3?
Well, I do think the tax cut is increasing aggregate demand and increasing productivity through capital investments. I mean, I think tax policy has a pretty powerful influence on the economy. And this was a pretty potent tax cut. I mean, it has some downsides as well, but it's certainly going to promote growth over a few years.
So we're ready to move on to the up. You want to go ahead?
I just want to ask Greg, you know, if you can cut taxes and do so in a way that doesn't have any concern for the fiscal deficit, and the fiscal deficit does not have a drag that outweighs the tax cuts, why don't you just keep going? I mean, what is the upper limit here? I'm sort of surprised that, and you're laughing, but I think you know that one of the ways that economists think about these things is we'll take them to the nth degree and see how it goes. I mean, we seem to have no negative effects from the boosted fiscal spending or the deficit consequences of the tax cut here.
Well, I think in the short run, that is over a period of a few years, it's pro-growth. The question is the longer run fiscal picture is troubling. We had a troubling long run fiscal picture before the tax cut, and the tax cut only made that worse. At some point, we got to deal with sort of the growth of entitlements as my baby boom generation retires and starts collecting Social Security and Medicare. So I think we have a serious long-term fiscal problem, and we also have less fiscal room to stimulate the economy in the next recession. So
Greg,
I think
Greg, I
think there's definitely downsides to the tax cut.
Can I push back on that? Because I think we agree that the smartest arbiter of these things is the market. And you look at the market and you look at 10-year money, it's costing you 3%. Why is that? Why does that? Those facts are all known to the bond market, and yet they show little to no concern about the things that you just talked about.
Because I think they think we'll do the right thing in the long run. I think they think that eventually we'll either cut spending or raise taxes to get the long-term fiscal imbalance under control. And we will, but it's going to be a bumpy political ride between now and then.
Hey, Greg, it's interesting. You say that the tax policy is having such a huge impact on economic growth, and perhaps it will prove Mr. Mnuchin right in his forecast that this could go on for 4 to 5 years. And yet we're in a political environment where Republicans running in the midterms are reticent to talk about the benefits of the tax cut. You've been in the White House before. What do you make of that unique environment that you find yourself in?
Well, the tax cut was largely aimed at corporations. And corporate tax cuts are probably more popular among economists than they are among the general public. I actually think that a lower corporate tax rate was a step in the right direction, moving towards a territorial tax rather than a global corporate tax was a step in the right direction. These are very nerdy things that economists talk about. I don't think the general voter is all that interested in the details of corporate tax policy.
But there is lower for longer on income taxes, right? I mean, a huge number of people now have much lower taxes for a much longer.
Right. Michelle, can I intervene on that question, which is our polling shows most people aren't aware of it.
Right, not until they actually file.
It's very difficult, and I'll let Greg answer, but it's very difficult for people to know how much a given tax cut, especially one that was sort of small on the individual side, is affecting their paychecks. Because what you have is you maybe get a paycheck, and some of it may be a change in taxes. Another piece is an increase in medical spending. By the time you look at the bottom line, you have no idea what's happening. And that's true for me, by the way. It doesn't matter.
People understand, though, and Greg, opposed to you, people understand that the economy is good. Whether they think, Steve, to their...
No, that's right. That's right.
They get the overall message.
Right, but they don't necessarily.
Good in part
they don't connect
but your question was about
cut.
why aren't they campaigning on the tax cuts?
Well, they do not connect the tax cuts to increase money in their paychecks.
Well, but I also, and I want to ask the professor about this, there's the issue of the budget deficit and the fact that it's still unclear, and I'm putting that politely, whether these tax cuts will ultimately even come close to paying for themselves. Right.
He raised that.
Oh, I don't think they will. I think the claims that they're going to pay for themselves are very exaggerated. It's always very tempting for people cutting taxes to say they're going to pay for themselves, but it's almost never true. So I think that the Trump administration is completely wrong about those claims. I think they have a really long-term fiscal problem. It's a long-term, I mean, not 3 or 4 or 5 years. I mean, from generation to generation. We have a long-term problem that we got to eventually come to grips with probably more revenues of some sort.